Hello and welcome to Imagine Amazing, Oregon HFMA's podcast, where we discuss what is trending in healthcare finance in the state of Oregon.
Yes, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today's podcast is a fun one to spotlight Oregon's HFMA 2024-2025 President, Amanda.delosreyes. Today, Amanda is going to share her vision for the chapter in the upcoming year, as well as updates on what is trending.
Also, as this is the Oregon HFMA podcast, we will be sharing important events and chapter highlights coming in the following months.
And as a reminder to our listeners, this podcast is available on all popular podcast platforms and is now viewable on Oregon HFMA's YouTube channel. To watch the podcast, pop some popcorn, go to YouTube, type in Oregon HFMA Imagine Amazing, click on the desired episode, and sit back and enjoy.
I'm one of your hosts, Jeff Johnson.
And I'm the other host, Kelly Smith. Today's episode of Imagine Amazing is sponsored and made possible by one of Oregon HFMA's diamond sponsors, Professional Credit. Professional's collaborative approach to consumer engagement, paired with a dedication to continuous improvement and ongoing investment in technology, results in better than industry averages for our clients. Offering early out and collection services, Professional Credit is the one you will always want in your corner to maximize recovery. To learn more about Professional, please visit their website at www.professionalcredit.com. Thank you so much, Professional Credit, for your support of the chapter and for this podcast.
Amanda, we are so thrilled to have you join us this year on the podcast. It's going to be amazing. I have watched you over the years. I have seen you serve within the chapter. I've seen you speak nationally, and I have seen you become one of the great leaders in healthcare today. So we are so excited to have you.
Yes, thank you, Amanda, for joining us today. And also, as one of your friends and colleagues, we are really happy to have you on the podcast to share what your vision for the chapter is this upcoming year. And excited to find out from you also, what are some of the fun updates about what the chapter is working on? We can't wait to find out.
Thank you very much for having me today. I'll start by telling you a little bit about my history with HFMA and my personal life. So I've been with HFMA for over 15 years as a member, and the reason I became a member was really the people. I attended my first conference and just fell in love with the camaraderie and the education. And so I will continue that. The value of networking with Oregon HFMA is amazing, and I have a zillion phone of friends. When questions come up, there's never any shortage of who I might call and who might know exactly how to help solve my problem. And currently, I'm the Vice President of Revenue Cycle for Valleywise Health in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm consistently learning and really enjoy Oregon HFMA. I'm also married and have 3 kids who keep me very busy. My oldest, Emma, is on the varsity golf team this year, so that's very busy. And little sister Aubrey would like to follow in her footsteps, so we're very busy with golf for Aubrey as well. And then my baby, my 5-year-old, he is really into baseball. So he played ball last year and is also going to be playing again this year as well as spring. So I'm very busy, both personally and professionally, but I love Oregon HFMA and love to continue to support.
Oh, Amanda, that's great. I have seen your family. You have such a beautiful family. I know that the work-life balance can be hard, and then you add volunteering onto it as well, and you just make it work. You shine in all 3 of those areas. For the podcast today, I'm interested to know a little bit more about your role as VP of Revenue Cycle for Valleywise Health. I know that Revenue Cycle looks different in every organization, so maybe you can just spend a minute telling us about your organization and maybe what you love most about your position and Valleywise.
At Valleywise Health, my role encompasses end-to-end revenue cycle management, which includes pre-billing through the collections process. So I have the mid-cycle coding, compliance, those types of things as well. One of the things that is a little bit unique about Valleywise is I also oversee the PAC, which is the Patient Assistance Center. So it's a kind of a center where we take over 5,000 calls a day from patients to get them scheduled at our various FQHCs and specialty clinics. We also process internal and external referrals. So it's a very busy hub, but it works very well. One of the unique things is that it is centralized, and I'm learning from a lot of my peers that a lot of the struggles they have are trying to centralize. So while we do have a few of our struggles there, the centralization has really helped us. I think that's really the only thing that's unique as compared to some of my other colleagues in revenue cycle.
That's amazing. It sounds like a big job, nothing small, and now you're tacking on top of it the responsibilities of Oregon HFMA. So super impressed, Amanda. How would you say that the various roles that you have held in healthcare are helping you as you go to lead this beautiful Oregon HFMA chapter?
So I think my background might be a little bit different than most in revenue cycles. So I started working at Legacy Health when I was 18. I was transporting patients and helping clean the OR, working part-time while I was going to school. And I thought I wanted to be a nurse and realized quickly with the help of that job that I didn't want to be a nurse, but was a little bit stuck on exactly what I was going to do, which was nerve-wracking as graduation was approaching. And so I ended up taking a role as a supervisor for the position that I had been working previously at our newest hospital in Salmon Creek, Legacy Salmon Creek Medical Center. And I was part of the opening of that facility, which was a really unique experience. And so I was the supervisor for about a year. And then there was some changes within the leadership structure, and I became the manager of support services when I was only 23, which was a big job for a 23-year-old, but I learned a lot. I honestly learned the most about human resources during that time, having a lot of staffs that were very entry level and navigating kind of their first time in the workforce for some of them. And then I realized that wasn't really what I wanted to do for the rest of my career, but without having a clinical background, I was again kind of like, oh boy, what am I going to do now? And so I started a master's program that was the combination between Oregon Health Science University and Portland State University. And one of our CFOs at the time was also part of the cohort program. And it was coming time to be able to do our summer project. And I didn't have any idea what I was going to do. And he suggested that I meet Ben Shaw and that we talk about benchmarking because he thought that might be an interesting way to kind of see other parts of the organization. And I actually really enjoyed it. And at that time, the role was outsourced. And so they ended up insourcing the role, if you will. And so I applied for the position and I got that position and I worked for Ben for a couple of years, but that's how I got introduced to HFMA. Ben had put up a sign and said, hey, if anybody wants to join this conference, please let me know. And I thought, why not? What do I have to lose? I don't know a whole lot about healthcare financial management, but I was hungry to learn more. And so that's kind of how I got into to Finance and Healthcare Financial Management Association. After a couple of years, I met a few other colleagues, learned a lot about different areas of the organization, which was really, really helpful. And so I ended up meeting Terry Handy, who a lot of you probably know. I took a management position with her for customer service and collections. And I really, truly didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I really enjoyed Terry and it sounded like an interesting opportunity. And also working with Ben was a great experience, but I realized I really missed kind of the leadership role and working with a team instead of kind of just working directly with people in the project manager role. I started in revenue cycle there. We combined HB and PB during that time. And then I went on to take a director role for several different areas in revenue cycle. And then I was promoted to senior director. Then COVID rolled around and I took on many other duties at the time, including the screeners, which wasn't really a rev cycle function. But at the end of my tenure at Legacy, I was overseeing about 650 FTE and had a lot of broad knowledge. But my previous knowledge of hospital operations is part of what really helped me be successful in my current role and is really a lot of the reason why I am where I am today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I love your story. It's always really fun to hear how leaders have come up into their roles. It really truly is a journey. And you, like many other leaders, I think one of the key things is you were curious. You were always curious. You were always interested. You were self-motivated. And it's really very nice to see how you created opportunity for yourself and had some good happenstance along the way. So thank you so much for sharing that. And now, as you think about your year as president for the Oregon chapter, we'd love to hear you share with us some of the exciting things that you hope to implement this year with the chapter.
Sure. So I want to talk a little bit about our chapter success plan. So a group of us came together right at the end of the last year at LTC in Orlando and really talked about, okay, what does success look like for us this year? And more importantly, how are we going to win an award and make sure that Oregon stands out again? So that went into a little bit of the thought process, but our leadership team with Oregon HFMA is fantastic. And so we have kind of three pillars that we're working on this year, and one is value. And so the first thing we're doing is rebranding with some of our social media and podcasts. And part of the reason I am here today, I want to make sure that we're out there and everybody gets to know us. But we're also trying to reach more and more members with social media. So expect to see that. The second thing is with engagement and really focusing on certifications. And there's a new certification for revenue cycle, which is an executive certification. And so we're really trying to increase our number of members who are receiving that new certification this year. But in addition to that, we're still focusing on some of the other certifications that HFMA has to offer and doing one-day classes to really help people understand the content and that type of thing. So you can look forward to that as well. And then for innovation, our goal is really to expand our DEI program by partnering with local colleges and universities. And some of our members have some really great connections that we're hoping to leverage. Last year, our DEI committee did a great job of reaching out to like the local high schools and things like that to help some of the kids understand, there's more to healthcare than just the clinical part. And I'm passionate about this because I, again, like I said, wanted to be a nurse. And so my senior year in high school, I took a class called Health Occupations, and it was solely focused on the clinical side of things. And I had absolutely no idea that there were all these other kind of parts to healthcare. And so I want to make sure that we get that word out there because everybody knows everybody's hiring coders, for example, and that might be a good path forward for somebody who's not, necessarily interested in a traditional four-year degree. But then there's also, high-level analytics and things like that. So just wanting to make sure that people understand a little bit more about just the clinical side of healthcare.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing just where you're going this year with the chapter and what your goals and objectives are. It was interesting. You mentioned something about students, and I know you're very passionate about that. I have heard through the grapevine, and maybe you can enlighten us, that there are some scholarships available to students to join the chapter. Could you speak a little bit about that, Amanda?
Yes, there are. So National has provided each of the chapters a designated amount of student scholarships. And we're really trying to focus on having the students know more about HFMA, have a resource, have a mentor, and that type of thing. So we're going to leverage the DEI program with engaging with the different colleges and universities to attract some of the students. And so really one of the only requirements is to have a .edu. So if anybody knows anyone who's interested, by all means, please reach out and we'd be happy to connect you. But we're also helping to leverage some of those partnerships to really talk about with some students who are engaged to see if they'd like to participate and become a student member. And the best part is it's free and things are expensive when you're a student. So that's a great benefit.
That is awesome. So if someone's listening, they have a .edu email address and they're really wanting to learn a little bit more, how do they get that information? Where do they go?
Well, I suppose you could reach out to me, and my email is amanda.delosreyes at valleywisehealth.org. And we can also put it in the comments as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda, for that. I really appreciate it. As you think about the chapter as a whole, what most excites you about Oregon HFMA that someone else should know?
I think for me, number one is definitely the engagement. We have so many engaged leaders, which is, fantastic. And everybody's always willing to help as part of that. And, if you have a tough problem that you're trying to solve, there's no shortage of people who are willing to, help you. And that goes for the business partners too, because a lot of the providers, and myself included, rely heavily on our business partners to really help us with complex situations. And so I think, everybody's always got a couple different ideas that you might try and that type of thing. And, in Oregon, there's a lot of regulations around billing and healthcare and things like that, and they can be kind of difficult to navigate on how they can be implemented. And so I know that Oregon HFMA on several occasions has even had kind of ad hoc meetings of, okay, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? And then we can kind of get some good ideas from each other, which has been incredibly helpful. So I think, engagement and everyone's willing to help. But the education and certification is also really exciting to me. Sorry, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. But the educational opportunities are really great. We have really great speakers that come speak to us in addition to just certifications, and some really great different forums for those different types of, education. And we do try to engage with our members to find out, okay, what's keeping you up at night? What would really be helpful? And then we try to seek out those educational opportunities.
It's so good, Amanda. And I love what you're saying, and it resonates with me too. As long as I've been engaged with the Oregon chapter, it's wonderful to see a nice mix of the recurring faces. You become familiar with this new family, and you come to events, and you're always going to see people that you've been seeing for years, but it's balanced really nicely with the number of new members that we've had over the years. And when you come to some of our bigger conferences and you see that 50% have never been to an Oregon conference before, it's great that we continue to inspire people to come and check us out. And I think you've given some really good reasons why individuals should consider becoming a member with the chapter for the education and for the networking opportunities for sure. You also spoke quite a bit today about the certifications and the new certification and the chapter's push to motivate more individuals to take that education. What's a reason someone should get certified with one of the HFMA certification classes?
For most organizations, they are very highly desired. A lot of times, if you're looking for a position, a lot of times it is hoping that you have some type of HFMA certification. And even some positions I've seen are required within a year from hire, for example. So it really helps recognize you as a professional in the community that is educated and really knows a lot about healthcare financial management. And again, there's lots of different certifications that are helpful for members. But HFMA also offers, just in addition to the certifications, which I've been using with my team, a lot of different education that are just like quick little tutorials online to brush up on, Medicare rules and things like that. So I would put that out there too, that are ad hoc as far as becoming a member, in addition to the certification. I think, just coming to the meetings is also the networking piece. But the certifications are definitely highly coveted in the revenue cycle community, as well as the healthcare financial management community.
Hey, thank you.
That is awesome. I'm just blown away by everything that the chapter offers. Why don't you talk to us about some of those events that are coming up, Amanda?
Sure. So we have our fall event coming up in just a couple of weeks at Eagle Crest Resort in Redmond, Oregon. That's September 25th through 27th. And during that conference, we also have the opportunity to take the second part of the CHFP certification, which is really exciting. So if you're looking to do that, you do have to pass the first module prior to. So just make sure that you do know that. We're also looking forward to some really fun networking events, as well as some really great education. And then our next upcoming conference is Western Region Symposium, and that's the one in Vegas. That's highly attended between Region 10 and 11, which really is almost half the United States. And I also have known that there are other folks that come from other regions, and kind of numbers wise, it's the second biggest to A&I. So it's a really great venue, a lot of really great speakers, and some really great events, and some new events that are in store for this year. And just a little plug, we still have some hosted provider sessions available. And there's some other opportunities, if budgets are tight, to be able to take advantage of, so that it might allow more attendance for other folks. So So please take a look at those opportunities and feel free to reach out to any HFMA member if you're interested in those. And then in February, we're looking forward to kind of a one-day seminar. A lot of times this is more geared toward early careerists and things like that. So really helpful for our enterprise members that might have some folks that are a little bit earlier on in their career. And then, of course, we have our annual event that will be at Salishan again next May. And that's when we welcome all of our new leadership team. And if you haven't been to Salishan yet, it's truly amazing. It's well known throughout the country as one of the best HFMA events, and it's always themed. And just a word to the wise, the first time I attended my first Salishan, I didn't realize people really dressed up, and they do. So be prepared to dress in theme for that celebration as we welcome in our new leadership team for the year of 25-26.
Thank you so much. You had mentioned hosted provider. Could you just give a definition for anyone listening what that means?
Sure. So it has to be someone who works for a hospital or healthcare system, clinic, that type of thing. And we can help with the cost of some of the attendance fees.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So Amanda, as we kind of close out today, I think I'll ask one last question. If you could share one piece of advice from your life experience to our listeners, what would that be?
Well, kind of my mantra is to never give up. However, I try not to say no to any opportunities that come up because you just never know where they might lead. And honestly, saying yes a lot of the time is how I got to the position I'm in today. If you would have told me 20 years ago I was going to be a VP of revenue cycle, I would have said you're crazy. And then I would have said, what does that even mean? So I think that that's kind of one of the things I would just put out there. Just never say no to an opportunity, of course, unless it's unethical or something like that. But, even if you don't know quite what you're getting yourself into, a lot of the times there's some amazing benefits, and it's always a learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for your year, and I hope everyone listening understands what a great opportunity this is for them to just be part of something truly magical. So if you're listening, would like to learn more, please check out Oregon HFMA for sure.
Yes, Amanda, thanks so much for joining us today on this episode of Oregon HFMA's Imagine Amazing. And thank you for being such an incredible member and now leader of the chapter. We're really lucky to have you.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm thrilled to lead the Oregon chapter. And I just want to say we welcome new members, and we're really excited to meet you and learn from your expertise. So if you're thinking about joining, please attend one of our upcoming conferences, and we would be thrilled to meet you.
Well, thank you. Well, as a reminder, we want to call out again that anyone listening can join the prestigious Oregon chapter and take advantage of their conferences by visiting hfma.org/chapter/region-11/Oregon.
No, thank you, Jeff. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the information shared in today's podcast and will join us for the upcoming conference in September. Meanwhile, we'd like to once again thank everyone for joining us today on this podcast, and we extend the warmest wishes to all Oregon HFMA members and want to give a shout out to our amazing healthcare heroes who continue to work at making our lives healthier and happier. Thanks, everybody. This episode of Imagine Amazing is brought to you today by Professional Credit. To learn more about them, please visit www.professionalcredit.com. Thank you, Professional.
This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and all other popular podcast platforms, as well as YouTube. Please find us, like us, and follow us for exciting content in 2024 through 2025. Also, to learn more about Oregon HFMA, please visit our chapter page at www.hfma.org/chapter/region-11/Oregon.